difference between economic and non-economic damages is probably at this point in time one of the hottest topics in the personal injury field. How do you do it at trial? What do you do at trial? Let's start with talking about what are economic damages. Very simply put, they are things like lost wages, medical bills, or any other what we call special item of damage, a fixed cost. A life care plan would also fall into that. If you can place a market value on it, it is typically a economic loss. Okay? Non-economic losses, very simply put, are, just for the sake of this video, are pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, things like that. But in our cases, we develop those because it can include things like loss of sleep, inconvenience, embarrassment, loss of mobility, all these types of things that most people don't consider. The common belief is, what are my lost wages and what are my medical bills? At our firm, we take a totally different approach. That stuff is not part of our case. It is important and we take care of it, but the main focus on our cases is the non-economic damages, what we call the human damages. Those have much more value. They're much more unique. They are much more powerful than any medical bill or lost wage. And when we develop these damages, we look at things like, what does this person like to do? Who do they like to interact with? What was their life like before this crash, and what's their life like now? What's the change? Is it valuable? Is it important to them? And we look at a bunch of these things, and we've come up with so many different things. We had one lady who was a photographer. She loved being a photographer, had her own wedding photography business. Unfortunately for her, she was in a bad crash. She really messed up her ribs. The medical bills weren't very big because you can't do a whole lot for the ribs. But she couldn't engage in her profession because it was so painful anymore. We made the case all about that. That was a tremendous case. It was incredibly fulfilling for this lady to tell her story, and the jurors responded to it. It was a 7-figure plus verdict on a dislocated rib. There are a variety of other cases that we have handled where we focus on the human damages, the non-economic damages. It's a fight. It's a daily fight with insurance companies because they always want to know your lost wages and your medical bills. Those don't matter. Insurance companies categorically undervalue by multiple factors. They undervalue your non-economic damages. They don't care. They don't respect the human experience. They don't think it's valuable, and they think it's very cheap, and they want to cheapen it right off the bat. Our job is to fight that. Our job is to respect each human being, their life, their experiences, and what they like to do. That is also one of the main draws of our business. We really enjoy it because we meet so many different people who have so many different walks of life, so many different hobbies, so many different experiences they love that we get to experience through our trial practice and our trial preparation that jurors identify with. And when we get those positive results, when we get those human damages, those non-economic damages fully out in the right way at trial, it is an extremely powerful experience and the value is 100% represented. So remember, when you're talking about economic versus non-economic damages, the old way of thinking is economic damages are where it's at. Non-economic damages is not where it's at. Get rid of that. Non-economic damages, the human being, the loss of enjoyment of life, the disruption, the inconvenience, who they were before and who they are now because of this crash, those are the values that we look at in our cases. We do it differently at our firm. We look at things on the non-economic spectrum versus the economic spectrum.